Now, when you think of Star Wars, you probably don't think of scary, spooky monsters, the boogeyman coming out of your closet to spook ya, tickle your toes a little bit. You probably don't think of that. Well, you're going to find out pretty soon that Star Wars is definitely scarier than what you might think. If you're new here, please drop a like, and I'll catch you later. 5 scariest things in Star Wars Legends. Okay, there's some terrifying things in Star Wars, dude, and the only reason why I'm looking this up is because I've been seeing Battlefront 3 is coming. I've been seeing that in every comment section, and apparently they're bringing back Star Wars Battlefront 2. There's some terrifying junk in Star Wars, dude. Let's find out what they are.
Hey guys, Eckhart's Ladder here, once again diving into the weird parts of Star Wars Legends. And today we're looking at the top 5 scariest things, and a thing can be a phenomenon, or a person, or a place, or an event. We're going to keep it pretty general.
Man, there's a thing called, I think he's going to talk about it 100%, but there's a thing called the Star Weird. It's actually called the Star Weird, and apparently it's a space phenomenon, where if you're floating out in deep parts of outer space in the Star Wars world, just floating there, and then if it notices you, it freezes you, and then it floats through the walls and kills you.
So with that being said, let's get right into it. Number 5 is hyperspace. And I know what you're thinking, how is hyperspace weird? It's just...
Okay, you know, I'm sorry for pausing 40 different times in the first 20 seconds, but can someone please tell me how, like, hyperspace works? Like, you're flying through hyperspace at light speed and you don't hit a single thing. You're telling me you don't smash into, like a trash can in space? Like a paperclip, a light speed paperclip smashing into your Star Destroyer. It is bound to blow up.
How people
like,
get
I
around
never
the
understood
galaxy.
that.
Well, that is of course true. Hyperspace is the main way that people travel long distance, but no one in the Star Wars galaxy really knows how it works, just that they're switching between different dimensions. I mean, just the fact that they are entering another dimension to go through the universe and they don't really know what they're doing, that alone, that mystery makes it kind of creepy to me. There's also the fact that hyperspace travel can go very, very wrong. Take, for example, the Charon.
Yeah,
they were involved in a hyperspace disaster, which ended up leaving them stranded in a weird dimension called other space. And other space, at least to me, is super creepy. Instead of being all black with twinkling stars like regular space is, other space is completely white with little bits of black shining.
I really don't like that. I would never use light space. Light space, light speed. God damn, fake fan.
Were stuck in other space for so long that they developed a death cult. And as is suggested by the name, the primary teaching of the death cult is that all life is to return to the void of death. And that's just creepy.
Now, I can see like the idea like you're saying, Dark, like where like it deatomizes you, speeds you up, and then reatomizes you. I can see that being a thing, but I mean, he even said himself, they don't even know how it works. They just accept it happens. Wait, how do they even make the technology if they don't know how it works? To be honest, the Death Trooper virus would be insanely scary. Adaptive zombies? True.
Creepy. So yeah, ending up in other space is certainly a real threat when traveling through hyperspace. You could also just accidentally fly into a star, or...
You know, we all use Bluetooth pretty much on the daily, and look up how Bluetooth works, dude. Honestly, dude, tomorrow we might look up how stuff works.
An asteroid, or even if you're really unlucky, somehow travel through time, although I guess that's really not as bad as exploding.
Jesus.
There's something bizarre about going into another dimension, and it almost seems like people from the normal dimension aren't even really meant to be in hyperspace. So for example, you wouldn't really want to look out the window for too long while you were traveling, because you could get what was called hyper rapture, which was essentially some sort of madness. Number 4 is Darth Nius, the Lord of Hunger. First of all, just look at his outfit, especially his mask. I mean,
Darth
Nius. Terror. But I mean, compared to the rest of him, it's really not so bad. Nihilus was present for the detonation of the mass shadow generator during the Battle of Malachor 5. Somehow, experiencing this great destruction turned him into a wound of the Force.
Bro's kind of badass.
Is kind of uncertain, but when there's a great amount of trauma or loss of life, the Force itself literally sustains an injury. And Darth Nius was actually the living, breathing...
You know, fun fact, I saw Neil deGrasse Tyson. He did
kind of
a
uncertain,
breakdown.
But when there's
Neil deGrasse Tyson did a breakdown of how much energy one of these destroyers can do, dude. One of these destroyers. And apparently, instead of just 3 planets at a time, I think, was it 3 or 4? It can do tens of planets at a single time with how much power it drawn from a sun. Neil deGrasse Tyson did the math behind it, and he was just like, man, they could have made it even more badass. Instead of 3 to 4 planets it destroyed, it could do like tens of planets at the same time, which is insane. Because, I mean, if you really think about it, they drew the power of a sun into that one singular beam. It's kind of crazy, dude. They could have made it even more badass.
There's a great amount of trauma or loss of life. The Force itself literally sustains an injury. And Darth Nius was actually the living, breathing version of that injury. Eventually, Nihilus's physical body decayed.
You know, Starkiller's pretty sick.
Residing within robes and armor. But he continued to grow in power and developed a
I've never watched Star Wars in my life, fake fan here. I just know from, like, the legends. You know, I played Star Wars on the DS before.
hunger for life and for the Force.
You know, I dabble in a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
And eventually, really, the Sith Lord became more of a force of nature rather than any sort of actual...
I know the tune of... I know a little bit of that tune.
Being. All in all, Nilius's motivations, his look, his voice, and everything about him make him worth the number 4 spot on this list. Number 3 is the Star Weird, and I've talked about them briefly in a recent video, so I'm not going to go too in-depth. But Star Weirds are like these ghosts in space, and they have a really disturbing look to them. They're extremely gaunt and long. They have flowing white hair, which will flow even if there's no wind. And they have...
Boys, if I can get like a DS emulator, we might play some DS games on stream. Like, bro, I kind of want to be like Jerma on how he like plays whatever. On how he like, he plays whatever he wants to. You know, I kind of admire that. If I can get like a DS emulator, bro, we might play like a Nintendo DS emulator. So like, you can play Nintendo you would smash this? Is there anything to smash? Like, I just want to keep it real. But it's kind of like a Nintendo DS, but like you can play it on your PC and you can play different games for it. I would love to play like the older games. God damn. That'd be so fun. That'd be so fun, dude. Yellow Carter. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, guards, send them to the Star Weird. Guards, execute them via lightsaber.
Very dead looking eyes.
Good job.
But really, how they act is more frightening than what they look like, and they existed only in deep parts of space, and it seems like they would kind of just float there until someone came nearby. And when someone did come nearby,
mission complete, soldier. Good job.
Especially if they were Force sensitive, they would go through the ship, start screaming at them with this terrible shriek, and then they would kill them with their claws. And the only way you can really fight them is through the Force or through a force field, and conventional weapons won't do any harm to them. All in all, these creatures are extremely powerful. They seem to be somehow connected to the dark side of the Force. And it's just creepy that they lurk in the deep parts of space, waiting for victims. And oh yeah, tying back to
Vader
number 5,
solos.
They will also appear in hyperspace sometimes. Number 2, I've split between 2 different things because they're extremely similar. And the first thing I want to talk about briefly is the Nal. And I've mentioned the Nal in 2 previous videos. I will briefly give a little recap right now. The Nal was pretty much gray goo, and all of the Nal seem to operate as one conscious sentient being. And the Nal's main goal was to cause as much harm, as much suffering as possible.
Where did this clip come from? Now, I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but someone's mowing the lawn.
And they were really sick and kind of disturbing.
Yeah, like this goo, like this pancake batter, like suffocating the man. I wonder where this came from, like what movie?
There were a few things they did, and the main one was taking over living beings. They would find some sort of orifice in a living being's body and enter them, and then replace their insides and their brain with their
full potential Vader killed the console.
They've done that over a few days. They'd actually take that person over, and they were just really weird. Like they would do things like collect thousands of starships.
You know, I looked into this, but there's a badass dude called Starkiller. And apparently it looks like he pulled down a Star Destroyer, like using the Force, but he didn't actually pull down the Star Destroyer. He just redirected it. But I mean, some people think he actually pulled down the Star Destroyer. Kind of sick.
And make a ring around their home planet. or cause people extreme amounts of suffering by killing their child in front of them, reanimating it, killing it again over and over and over.
Damn!
Many species believe that the Now was actually from another dimension, and kind of even to make things a little bit creepier, it's also been theorized that the Great Hyperspace Disturbance, which bisects the unknown regions, was created to keep the Now away from the rest of the galaxy. So these creatures, or I guess I should say, this creature is so disturbing, so deadly, and so really just destructive that it had to be isolated from the
Sentient goo. Sentient goo. God damn. God damn. I hate that. I hate that. Sentient goo. This is kind of like the mimic tier in Elden Ring, dude. How it transforms into people, but it's actually just like silver goo at first. God damn. Okay.
rest of the galaxy. And just the fact that this thing came from another dimension, not unlike, say, Waru, kind of just adds to the general uneasiness. The Now was very similar to Imperial Project Blackwing, which was,
here it
of
is.
course, also very disturbing, and some people have suggested that the two are actually the same. Project Blackwing used a viral agent known as the Sickness, and when you were infected with the Sickness, this fluid started to accumulate within your body, and eventually it would replace all of your organs, including, of course, your brain. Once it had full control of your body, you were pretty much a zombie, and you were at the will of
Wait,
the
there's a
Sickness,
game on it?
There was really nothing that could be done at that point. Number one,
Wait, no, that's Gmod. Okay. God, that looks so legit, dude.
at the will of the Sickness, and there was really
Wait, is
nothing
that
could be done
Gmod?
at that point. Number one is the closest thing that Star Wars will probably ever get to Lovecraftian horror, and that, of course, is Abeloth. And the story around Abeloth and her effects on others, I think, is incredibly interesting. And
Yeah, I think it does kind of work kind of like a symbiote. Yeah, I think it does. And the Project Blackwing, like, how does that even, like, happen? That it, was it let go? You would smash this? Like the tentacle lady? God damn. Okay. Is this pre-recorded? No. Am I real? I'm just a green screen, dude. I'm just a green screen. But, like, with Project Blackwing, how did it get out of containment? And why would they do tests on a Star Destroyer? Why didn't they, like, have it more contained? Like, let's just say it, like, on a planet. God damn, they're loud as fuck out there. Holy shit. Like, what? They be confused. Am I talking to Twitch? Oh, yeah, that is true. That is true. They might be confused. Boys, I'm talking to a nice gentleman over on twitch.tv. Do not be confused. So there's some games that you can mod for it? Sheesh. I'm gonna have to look into all these games eventually, dude. I'm going to have to. I know they're gonna be older, but, like, oldies but goodies, right? If I can't watch the movies on stream without getting copywritten, might as well play the games. Am I right?
also pretty disturbing. Abeloth's story is very, very weird, and I'm not going to cover it all in this video, but she was born as just
My God, is there a plane taking off outside my door? Okay.
a normal person. However, she served the extremely powerful Ones and eventually became the Mother. Unlike the Ones,
Which flight? That's a good question, dude. They be weed whacking. They're using, like, a jet-powered lawnmower outside my window.
she wasn't actually immortal, so her life was coming to an end while her family, obviously, was continuing to live. In a bid to try to get this
My lawn wasn't actually that bad, by the way.
power, she drank from the font of power and bathed in the pool of knowledge. And these were very powerful force areas located in the realm of Beyond Shadows. And I mean, Beyond Shadows is weird enough. It's kind of like this alternate dimension that you get to by meditating for a really long time and disconnecting the force from your body.
She
and
was
while there, you
enlightened.
have crazy force visions of the past and the future, and you can go to these really powerful force areas, which are called force nexuses. Anyway, her actions ended up turning her into Abeloth, and Abeloth is an
No, I can fix her. Easy peasy. I can fix her.
extremely powerful dark side entity. She was actually so powerful that the Ones and the Killiks worked together to imprison
You know, I don't have any force. You have a lot of force. Opposites attract, if you know what I mean.
her within the Maw, and the Maw is the center of the Star Wars galaxy. And they did
Oh, the Star Destroyer, when they were doing Project Blackwing, that destroyer was a prison ship that they were experimenting with bioweapons and didn't realize how contagious the Death Trooper virus was. Oh. And there's a period of almost a week before it kicks in, so there's no way of catching it. Oh, I understand it now.
Did so by creating extremely powerful technological artifacts, including Centerpoint Station and Sinkhole Station. Anyway, I'm getting off track, but just being near Sinkhole Station would cause people who were force sensitive to get these crazy visions and actually get what was called force psychosis. And this was an extreme form of paranoia and mental illness just caused by being so close to this extremely powerful entity. Avalok was actually extremely powerful in other ways as well. She could drain people of their force energy, which obviously killed them. She could take over people's minds.
Man, I'm cool. Hey, you're cooler, dude. I don't know. Maybe my force abilities attracted you to stream today.
And she could assume any appearance that she wanted to. And her standard appearance is actually really creepy too.
Goo?
She had long, kind of blonde hair, a mouth that went from ear to ear, and very frightening eyes, and
Smash?
most notably tentacles.
I believe
it. She's just so weird and actually so powerful too, and dangerous, and so much so that Jedi and Sith work together to defeat her. I'm not sure if I actually like her as a character, but just the fact that her pure power that she exudes is able to affect the minds of people that are around her, and that she's dabbled with these really powerful dark side and light side too powers. It's just all really disturbing and really creepy, and for that reason she's the #1 scariest thing in the Star Wars universe. Anyways guys, I really hope you enjoyed this list.
Kind of freaking sick. I'm not a fan of the goo. Alright, so breakdown. Not a fan of the goo, and I'm really not a fan of the light speed. I'm mainly not a fan of the light speed, dude. Like, they even said themselves, like, we just use it. We don't even know how light speed works. And apparently a Star Weird can still go in your ship. A Star Weird can go in your ship during light speed, dude. What? Hell no. What? You just be flying in light speed, a Star Weird goes into your ship, dude. Star Weird goes into the ship, and you hit like a pebble. You hit a grain of sand going at light speed. Like, you got like half your men getting their soul sucked by a Star Weird, and then the other half your ship blowing up because a paperclip smashed into it at light speed. Hell no. I will not do that, gladly. I'll give a fat like to that video. Matter of fact, I'll quadruple that like. I will quintuple that like. I will septuple that like.